This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and welcome to our collaborative podcast brought to you through Cleveland 13 News. Again, I'm your host, Karen Hale, and I'm honored to share space with you and my extraordinary individuals that I call my guests. They are from Cleveland and beyond. They've discovered their purpose, their power, and how to live it out authentically. This series is about meaningful connections, mutual growth, and the beauty of learning from each other. You don't have to do it alone. Today's podcast is sponsored by Cassandra Kopinski, songwriter, singer. She's a Leo, so if you're into that, hey, join up with her. She's a theater kid, a yogini, a chocoholic like me, and a voiceover actress. You can stream her music on all platforms. Check out her newest release on YouTube, Joni Mitchell's Both Sides Now. You'll have to come to the show notes to get the direct link. But today I have a guest. Her name is Erin Hempen, and we met through podmatch.com. And I'm not going to read her bio. Again, you can find that in the show notes. But she's a very active woman, very active in trying to help other individuals. So, Erin, take us on your journey, because you have volunteered in places that some of us don't even have on our horizons.
You should have them on your horizons, for sure. So that is a big question. My journey, or this journey with my nonprofit organization, started in 2007 with a volunteer trip that I wanted to take to a little country in Southeast Africa called Malawi. At the time, it was a 12-day trip, kind of checking something off of my bucket list. I thought I would be one and done, come home to my family and move on with life. It was this nagging curiosity that I had had for a long time about volunteering somewhere in Africa with children. So I did that in 2007, and it impacted me in ways I did not expect. And I ended up continuing to do some volunteer work in that country kind of once a year for a while. And then in 2011, I decided, based on what I had learned and what I was seeing, that I wanted to start my own nonprofit. So I did that in 2011. And the journey has been long and winding. And here we are at, the end of 2025. And so much has changed. And we have so much going on. But that's kind of how it started. It just started from this curiosity that I had about doing some volunteer work in Africa.
So where did this curiosity come from? Because a lot of people, and I hear this from a lot of my colleagues, that we run to other countries to help impoverished children. Mm-hmm. We have those same issues here in the United States, even though we don't want to admit it, because we are the richest country in the world and we take care of everything. So what made you say, this is where I want to go? And how did you find that spot in Africa?
Right. Well, I that's a couple of different questions, and I'll start with one that is, I have had people approach me in the past and say, why do you volunteer your time in this little country halfway across the world when our country has its own set of problems? And it's taken me a long time to figure out how to answer that in an eloquent way. But here's my answer that I give in elevators and at cocktail parties and soccer games and wherever I find myself, somebody asks me that question. For whatever reason, this is where I have been led to volunteer. I don't understand why. That's where I've been led to do it. And I feel like if all of us explore our own curiosities and start to give of ourselves wherever we feel called to do it, then the world becomes a better place. That's the simplest way I can say it, Karen.
I love that answer, because I just wrote a blog this morning about our perceptions on life. Okay. And today I could go outside and decide that I want to take care of the national park that's right next to me. Or I might say, well, that park is being taken care of decently. What other park can I go to take care of? And so I understand where you're coming from, but I know that people are constantly asking that question, that we want to feed the children in Africa, but why aren't we feeding them here? It's not that we're not feeding them here. That's
Right.
just your journey has gone.
And anyone that chooses that for themselves, I would love to support their work and hear about what they're doing and why they felt called to serve in that way. The world's a big place, and I don't see it as us and them, and I just have never seen it that way. So that's just my perspective, and I think we could all do a little better in serving others. I think that's one of the reasons that we're here on Earth, is to help people. We all have unique ways of being able to do that, and resources that we can use to help other people in other places, like you talked about national parks. So I just think if everybody did what they felt in their heart is what they wanted to do, the world would become a better place. So this is just a little place in the world that I have felt like I'm supposed to be. I'm not a religious person, but for whatever reason, it's just what I know I'm supposed to be doing. And I take great comfort in that.
So here you come from America, where you have a nice home, a roof over your head, food on the table, and now you're going to a place that really is impoverished. What was that like? I mean, your first view of it. I mean, how did you respond?
Well, I think thinking about seeing a place like that is one thing, and then actually being there and finding myself face to face with these little children and these people that I had, created in my mind. It was overwhelming and quite different than I thought it would be. The first trip that's the only way I can describe it. It was just overwhelming. Yeah, that's the best way I can describe it. You're faced with things that you just never thought you'd see. My eyes were wide, and I was taking it all in, and it was an overwhelming feeling for sure.
So now you come back to the United States and you start to think about, what can I do? What more can I do? So how did that escalate for you?
Well, I started working for this organization who I had traveled with, and I started organizing trips for them. So they would send people to me via email who wanted to travel, and then I would be the person that would travel with the group and help raise money for the projects they were doing, take care of the volunteers while they were in the country, and things like that. So that was kind of how I started to become more and more familiar with the people, the culture, what kind of things that nonprofit wanted to do, etc. And that was really where I started to learn what I liked about these type of programs and what I didn't like about these type of programs. And I felt like a lot of that program specifically was focused more on the volunteer than it was on the outcome.
Okay.
And I felt like a lot of the projects just weren't beneficial long term. And over the years, just started learning a little bit more and a little bit more. You can imagine, I mean, this is a very simple example. So you get a group of people, you travel to a foreign country, and you say, we're gonna build a house. So I started to think about, well, why are we building? I don't know how to build a house. I'm not a carpenter. But in this country, there are carpenters, and there are carpenters that are looking for work and that need work to feed their families. And why aren't we supporting those local craftsmen and local businesses and the industry in that country in order to get these things done? So that was one thing that bothered me a little bit. The other thing that bothered me was that us as Americans were making decisions about what these other people needed, instead of taking the time to get to know the people in those communities, their culture, and collaborating on ways that we might be able to help each other. So my work started to evolve in that way. So when I started the nonprofit, I decided that I would work with community-based organizations. So in Malawi, those are organizations started by local people to benefit local people. And I thought we could come alongside those organizations and offer additional support. And that, again, taught me many lessons. And I did that for a few years. And then eventually, so this is probably after about 10 years of doing this work, I was approached by some people in a community that I knew. And they said they needed a kindergarten school in their community. And so I thought about if that was something I could take on. That's a big job. And if I could take that on alongside the community. So that was where things kind of started to change even more for my organization. And that was in 2017. 2016, we started construction on our first school, and we opened it in 2017. And then in 2020, I was approached again by another community who said, we've seen what you did. We want to know if you can do it for us too. And so in 2021, we opened our second kindergarten school. And now we have right around 100 kindergarten students between the two schools. And we serve about roughly 300 kids in our after-school programs, which I'm really proud of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What I love about what you're doing, and I've talked about this, oh God, for years, every time I join an organization, it's like, why don't we let the people who need the services talk to us, be part of building it. I look in our urban communities and it's like we have people who know how to build, know how to landscape, know how to design, but they don't have that opportunity. Right. Well, if we can come communicate with these people and let them do it, number one, they're going to appreciate it a lot more than having somebody else come in and get paid to do what they can do.
Right.
And, it's all about accountability too, that you didn't know what kind of school they really needed. They knew what they thought they needed. Now in communicating it with you and others, maybe you can come up with some even other ideas that they didn't even think of. And that's where collaboration is so important.
Well, I have this great story about our after-school program. We built this kindergarten alongside the community in 2016, 2017. And I was there. I went for 2 months toward the end of construction so that I could be there on the ground and, help facilitate a lot of the final stages of the building and things like that. And every day, all of these kids in the community were showing up at this job site because it was exciting and there was stuff going on, and they wanted to help and they wanted to carry bricks and they wanted to carry water. And, these are kids between like 6 and 17 years old.
Okay.
And when they would get done with school, they were so excited to come to the job site where I was, which I'm sure was interesting that there was this American woman who was there in the community, and we would play games and, we would add some fun into what was going on. So they just kept showing up, these kids who weren't ever going to go to this school. It wasn't being built for them. And so I started to think, well, these kids are showing up. It's our job to find something for them and to have them be a part of what's going on. They were asking for it in their own way. They were saying, we need a place to go after school. We need something to do. So that was how the after school program started. And I just feel like the kids in that community were the ones that dreamed that dream. And I was just able to come alongside them again and make it happen. And so now they're there 4 days a week. We have teachers for them and resources and art and dance and drama and music. And it's just become something that the community loves. I love that we're able to provide it for them. And I get to follow these kids as they get older because we see them every day after school. It's just a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. So when you first went to this country, did you know how to speak their language? How did you communicate?
Well, a lot of these people speak English. English is taught in their primary and secondary schools.
Okay.
And then also they do have a local language. And you can imagine over the course of 20 years, I should speak it fluently by now. I do not, but I understand much more than I did back in 2007. I do better than I probably give myself credit for. But yeah, a lot of the people in that country speak English. So it did make working and communicating a lot easier.
So that's interesting because most of us, and myself included, assume that they only be speaking their native language, that they wouldn't have English as a secondary language, which, comes back to our country. We don't have a secondary language. Okay, we have our language and that's it. And if you don't speak it, it's like, don't talk to me. And I think we can learn a lot from what you're doing and what the people are doing in that country to come together to create a better life for everyone around.
Now, well, I think we all make a lot of assumptions. And I think travel is one of the things that teaches us to grow in so many ways. And if that's what I could tell any young people that are listening, travel as much as you can. Anthony Bourdain says it, travel as much as you can, as far as you can. That alone will change your life and your perspective on so many things. The world is a big place. We are just one small little country in a big, big world. And there's a lot to learn out there.
Absolutely. Well, what is it like for your family when you take off for 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever? That's got to be difficult.
Well, it's been ever evolving. So when my kids were little, I have 2 daughters. When they were little, I would only go for 2 weeks a year. So I'd be gone 12 days once a year. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. So all the other days of the year, I was home with my girls. And yes, it was difficult sometimes, those 12 days that I was gone, and I would find ways to try and fill the gap. Their grandmother spent a lot of time with them. We were lucky to live close to her while they were young. And then as they got older, and my nonprofit grew, then I would be gone sometimes for longer stretches. My girls are 7 years apart in age. So my oldest daughter, she started kind of taking charge when mom would go away. But it was a balancing act, but it also, I think, taught my girls some important lessons about humanitarian work, service work, caring for other people in the world. And also that if you have a dream, you can do that. And you can get support from your husband, from your family, in order to allow you to do that. And I hope it empowers them as they grow up and have families, and they see that it's okay. You can step away from your family to either work or fulfill your goals or missions in life.
For a couple of years there, my husband and I were both doing contract work. So he would travel 1 week to an assignment. He'd come home. Following week, I traveled. And it was interesting because we thought we were doing a great balancing act. Mm-hmm. It was many years later when my youngest son finally said to us, "Mom, it was really terrible when you were on assignment." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because when you were home, there was structure. When you were away and Dad was home, there was no structure." And he said, and he was constantly having to change personality. And I looked at him and I said, "I never thought about that. Never did." And he said, but Mom, we made it through it. And he was right. We did. And I think that's the important message that I want to get across is if you don't follow what you feel you need to do, you are no good for your family.
That's right.
Because they're going to sense that, Mom really wants to be in Africa for 2 weeks working on this project. But if she doesn't go, Mom is not going to be as connected.
Right.
And, it's the truth. And you've also taught your girls to widen, their horizons.
I think I have. Just recently, my oldest daughter, she's 27 now. She was invited to a friend's wedding in India, and she had never been to India, and her husband couldn't travel with her. And so she decided she was going to go alone. And I was so proud of her, just because I've heard from women my age and friends of mine, sometimes when I travel, they're scared for me, or, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're going to do that. And just for her to call me up and say, I think I'm going to do this by myself. And then while she was there, calling me and saying, oh my gosh, Mom, you're never going to believe this or that. And I really felt proud of her that she did that. And I know that she had the majority of it was her that made that decision, but there was a little part of me that thought maybe I helped that along as she was growing up.
Well, I'm sure, because there are influences that do come from our parents.
Right.
And, sometimes we don't want to admit it. So it's possible that she's going to take it all for herself, and that's okay.
That's okay.
So what is in the future with your organization? Are you building any more? Give us a little hint.
Well, I'll tell you, when COVID happened, it made things more difficult. It certainly didn't stop us, because it was during COVID that we built our second school. But I would say since COVID happened, not only have donations slowed, but also it's been harder to get people that want to travel that far and have an experience like this. So I have not wanted to take on another big project since then, because I go to sleep every night worrying about sustaining these 2 schools and all of these children that depend on the organization for their education, for 2 healthy meals a day. We have a staff of 13 local people in Malawi that run our schools. So I have a lot on my plate.
Sure.
And all of our projects are privately funded. So funded by individual people just like you and me, who make a decision to give one-time donations or monthly donations to help support the work that we do. When people travel with us for a 2-week trip to see what we do, those people tend to become long-term donors for us, because they're able to see face-to-face, in person, what we're doing and where their money is going. So really my focus right now is sustaining these 2 schools and all that I've got on my plate. I don't know if your audience is familiar with Giving Tuesday, which comes the Tuesday right after Thanksgiving, which is the biggest fundraising day of the year globally for nonprofits. Every year, my organization raises about 80% of our budget in one day on Giving Tuesday.
Wow.
And we do that so that we don't constantly bother our donors for money all year round. So that model has worked for us. So one of our board members, Dina, and myself go on Facebook and Instagram all day on Giving Tuesday, and we try and raise as much money as we can for the year. So this year, our goal is $20,000 in one day. So we'll see how we go. But it's a fun day, and we tell stories about the nonprofit and show pictures and give people a lot of information. And it's a great way to spend Giving Tuesday. And so that's what I'm focused on right now, Karen. End of the year, filling our tank so that we can continue this work that we do.
Absolutely. So how can my listeners find you and donate and become more involved? Because, we see what's on TV, okay? Oh, we think that organization is going to give to everybody. And the reality of it is, no, it gives to this one small pot. And there's a lot of people out there asking for money.
Yep.
But I think sometimes when people can dig in and see what you're doing and understand it more, they're more willing than to say, hey, here's my monthly donation. Or,
Right.
you know what, I'm going to leave a donation in my will or whatever. So how can they find you?
Okay. Well, I think first of all, a lot of people love donating to With Change in Mind because they are able to see directly how their money has an immediate impact.
Okay.
You know, we run on a budget of under $50,000 a year. We are able to stretch that money so far for these kids. We serve thousands and thousands of meals every year. I mean, we're able to do a lot with a little. So I'm very proud of that. So you can find us on our website, which is withchangeinmind.org. Donations can be made right through our website. There's a donate tab on the website. You can also find us on Facebook and on Instagram at With Change in Mind. And there's also a contact form on our website, or people can DM me through Instagram or Facebook. If you're interested in talking about travel with us, I would love to talk more to people who are interested in not only traveling to learn about the country, the culture, the language, our projects, but also do a little bit of volunteer work and see what we do on the ground. We would love to have you. Next summer, I'm working to get some teachers that want to come together and take a trip with us to help mentor some of our kindergarten teachers. So if you're in education and this is something that you've thought about doing, I'd love to speak with people. So yeah.
I love it. Well, and I'm also going to make an offer here because, as you heard at the beginning of today's podcast, we have a sponsor. And the sponsor is not charged anything. Okay. So what I would like to do for the month of January and February, have your organization sponsor our podcast. Let's get the word out there. Let's get you noted. This is what I do. And, you know, I may not always have the money to go out and buy all the things I want and donate to all the organizations. But if I can get the word out, it's something that I think is important. And I loved how you described why you chose this country, these people, because I think your concept, people are going to pick up on it and say, hey, maybe I can help my community. Or, you know what, maybe I can help in another country because this is what I want to do. We all have a purpose.
Absolutely. Explore your curiosity is what I say. If you're curious about something, dig in. You'll figure out why you're curious about it. I appreciate it so much, Karen. You gave me goosebumps when you said that. We can all do something in our own way. And I'm grateful that you're willing to do that for us.
So all I'm going to ask you to do is write up a little blurb that you want that I'll read off, that will also be in the show notes. And starting January 1st through the end of February, we will support you.
I love it. I'm so excited. It's like Christmas for me.
It is. We may talk about it a little bit before Giving Tuesday, just to give that little bit of a push. So
okay, I would love that. Yeah, remember December 2nd is Giving Tuesday. So wherever people want to give their money, their charitable donations, get out there, do something on Giving Tuesday, be of service or give a donation to your favorite charity. It's a big day, and especially small nonprofits like ours depend on those days when it's advertised and people are encouraged to give. So it's a big deal for us.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. And for those of you who are listening today, I just want you to know that Erin and I were supposed to do this on Tuesday, and I did have some technical difficulties. And Erin was willing to say, hey, give me another day. And I'm so glad we did, because now I feel like I have a new purpose in life. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you. And hopefully we'll talk soon.
We will. Bye-bye now.
All right. Bye-bye.